Good afternoon, welcome to day 4 of SoccerX Connected. Ben Jacobs with you throughout the day. Good morning to those of you waking up bright and early in North South America. Lots of viewers as well from Asia as well. Today focuses on commercial, marketing and broadcasting, and we are sponsored by Teamworks, and as a consequence we're asking you a nice fun question to kick off the day for your chance to win a signed shirt. Which two footballers simply work well together? You can pick current, past, mix and match. Alternatively, give us a hypothetical. Pick two footballers that didn't play together but would make good teammates. At SoccerX via Twitter, use the hashtag SoccerXConnected, and somebody will be going away with a signed shirt of their choosing from an array on offer, including Laurie Lindsay, US Women's National Team, Jean-Pierre Papin, Carlos Alberto, and many, many more. Every time we get a football club as well coming on today, I'm going to be asking them for a signed shirt. So that means you, Atlanta United and Houston Dynamos, and maybe even Adidas can chuck in a few to the mix. So we have a few more prizes to give away. Don't worry, we won't be handcuffing you to that, but we are asking nicely, and that signed shirt is available to you. Engage with us throughout the day, and please use the app as well to listen to our exhibitors. Full schedule is also on the app as well. Like I say, today it focuses on commercial, marketing and broadcasting. So let's kick things off then with our opening panel, 12 GMT. It's entitled Football, the Brand, and football's origins, I suppose, as just 90 minutes of entertainment in front of a television after work or on a Saturday afternoon are long gone. It is now absolutely everywhere, football, in all different kinds of shapes and sizes. It's also on your computer, your phone, it's within your wardrobe, and many other places. So where's left to go? What kind of new areas can still be developed? Gamification is certainly one newer content format that is entering the market ahead of Qatar 2022. To discuss, we've got a great panel. We're delighted to welcome David Bruce, the SVP of Brand and Integrated Marketing at MLS. He's up bright and early, as is from Houston Dynamos, their CMO, Catie Scallan. Jen Valentine is with us, Senior Director of Soccer at Adidas. And from Atlanta United, we welcome the CBO, Catie Griggs. And your moderator is the co-founder and co-CEO of The Fader. It's a warm welcome to John Cohen.
Hello, thank you everyone for having us. Thank you, SoccerX. So we have a great panel today. We are going to talk about the cross-section of culture and how it intersects with our game, MLS. I am John Cohen. I'm the founder of The Fader. We are a music media platform. We really tell stories in culture. We've told the stories for the last 20 plus years of some of the biggest icons in music. We start with them relatively unknown, everyone from Kanye West to Kendrick Lamar to Drake to MIA, The Strokes, The White Stripes, Amy Winehouse. We have a very good handle on how culture moves. I also run and own Cornerstone Agency. Cornerstone Agency has been the agency partner with MLS for the last 3.5 years. We've been developing their Our Soccer platform. It's been incredible to have a front row seat and watch the development of this league. We have seen a real explosion of MLS in the last 3-4 years. And it's not really only the success we're seeing on the field. We've seen tremendous success on the field, growth in terms of our stadiums, growth in terms of attendance, ratings, most importantly, growth in terms of the quality of play of our game, which has really grown unbelievably, and we're continuing to export great talent around the world. But what's really unique from our perspective on MLS is how it has become transcendent and such a big part of culture in North America. MLS is such a unique sports experience in North America compared to a lot of the legacy sports here. And it is exploding. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We want to highlight with a lot of our key partners, a lot of the work that we've been doing over these last few years. So I'll start by allowing our panelists just to briefly introduce themselves and talk about what they do and what their role is, starting with Catie S. from Houston.
Hi, everybody. I am Catie Scallan, the Chief Marketing Officer for Houston Dynamo FC and Houston Dash of the NWSL. And I oversee all the marketing, traditional, digital, broadcasting, community relations, and game entertainment.
And next up is someone who deserves a virtual round of applause for being awake at 4 a.m. to join us on this panel, but from Adidas, Jennifer Valentine.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Jennifer Valentine, head of soccer for Adidas North America, and we are in charge of product marketing, brand marketing, and sports marketing for soccer in North America. Dream job.
Excellent, thank you, Jennifer. And Catie G from Atlanta.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you having me. My name is Catie Griggs. I'm the Chief Business Officer for Atlanta United, and that spans everything that covers off of the pitch. So everything from our marketing to the way in which we engage with our fans in the community, as well as ticket sales and sponsorships.
And last but not least, David Bruce from MLS.
Hey John, hey SoccerX community. Thanks for having me today. My name's David Bruce. I oversee the brand and the marketing team of Major League Soccer. So everything that John started to get into, who are we, what do we stand for, and why should someone care? And I think that's ultimately what we're gonna get into today. So I'm excited to chat with you all.
Great, so let's get into it. I think I want to start with Jennifer and the great partnership MLS has with Adidas. There are very few lifestyle brands that really could work better than Adidas in terms of being an MLS League partner. And at the core of what we see with our game, it is, there's a real movement to the look and feel of our game. And at the center of that, it's the kit. It is really a big part of how we express the game locally, internationally. And Jennifer, I'd love to start by having you tell us more about that partnership. Last year, we had a historic start to our 25th year celebration. And I'd love you and then David to talk about the Adidas partnership, how kits are developed. I mean, it's a big undertaking when you're coordinating all of the local clubs and trying to create both an identity on a local level, but then create something league-wide. So start by telling us about the partnership and some of the different things that have happened and will continue to happen.
Yes, John, great question. And Adidas has always been at the heart of both sport and culture, and soccer is no different. So as we think about culture, we're always using culture as inspiration for our kits and our jerseys, and really taking cues from the local communities of all the great clubs that we work with. So most notably Mia San Mia with FC Bayern, or the 3252 of LAFC. So our partnerships certainly are critical to showcasing the local communities and cultures they represent. We also work with a broad array of partners like Parlay and how we make jerseys more sustainable. We've had a long-standing initiative with MLS to launch league-wide Parlay jerseys each year. Additionally, for Forward 25, which is the event that you referenced in partnership with David Bruce and the MLS, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of the league, bringing both sport and culture together to launch the jerseys. This included bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, Najee Jordan, Colin Hanks, and Ninja to help showcase how soccer has really transcended the sport and into mainstream culture within the United States and Canada. And then looking forward, of course, with my club partners here on the phone, we're launching our 2021 MLS kits and have taken great cues from culture in both the Houston Dynamo and Atlanta United kits, and really taking cues from the local communities into those jerseys. But I'm not allowed to reveal any more than that, so I'll leave it there. But yes, looking forward to launching those here within the coming weeks.
Great. And David, from a league perspective, talk about the partnership. I mean, we know the importance of, what you guys have developed together, but give us more insight in terms of how you look at the importance of the kit and how really the fashion of the game has married MLS to the culture of North America.
Yeah, totally. Adidas is such an important partner of the league. I think they're one of the only partners that have been around since day one. We're just about to start our 26th season, in the next couple of months. Adi's a partner that, as Jen said, they're living on the precipice of culture every single day. At the core, they're a sports brand, a sports performance brand, but everything they do bleeds into pop culture. in every way, which shape and form. So for us as a brand that, you know, wants to grow, wants to scale, is starting to get the product on the field up to a really, really good level. It's how do we build our own version of soccer culture that exists in North America? You know, if you look around the world, and there's obviously many people on the call today who are global consumers of the sport, are living in a country whereby football or soccer has been there for, you know, over 100 years. You know, we've only had a professional league for 26 years. For us, it's about how do we create our version of soccer culture that sits in and exists around our sport. And if you think about, okay, what are some of the assets that you've got to talk about? The jersey is one piece that enables this wonderful storytelling opportunity. It's one on the field, clearly, but it's also one in the terraces, in the stands, on the streets. The jersey becomes the embodiment of what that club stands for, what that club stands for locally, and it also pulls in all kinds of cultural cues into that kit. So when we think about, we need to move from inside the white lines to outside the white lines, Adidas is a perfect partner to do that. And when you think about some of the catalysts to make that happen, the jersey clearly is one. The other piece you mentioned earlier is at the start of every season, we launch our kits, and we have a league-wide deal with Adidas. So every team has at least one jersey that they're changing. Last year, at the start of our 25th season, we had this opportunity to celebrate our jerseys, I think, in a different way. So we were able to put them all together. We did this big event before New York Fashion Week. It almost kind of kicked off New York Fashion Week. All at the time, 26 clubs were there. And we were able not just to tell a story about a jersey, but we were able to tell a story about that city, that market, an influencer or an important person in pop culture who wanted to be part of that story. There was music associated with it. So these catalysts or these assets provide us this opportunity to tell a much richer and complete story around culture. It gives us the permission to do that. So in everything that we're trying to do to grow the game, there's clearly an on the pitch component, but you know, more importantly to us as marketeers, it's about off the field. It's about how are you building this culture that feels uniquely from this part of the world and ultimately feels uniquely Major League Soccer in its style.
Right. Yeah. Thank you both. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and it's a key part. Yeah, our league is really unique. I mean, there is a swagger that we see on the field amongst our fans. We experience rituals, and I think, you know, as we like to say, we're 25 years young, and I think a lot of people are just experiencing how unique the game is here in North America. And a big part of what's been driving that awareness is the connection to culture. Our game has a lot of unique rituals, which we'll talk about in a second. And there's a lot of inherent touch points with culture. And one of those touch points is music. And, you know, talking to both our Caties, you know, we see a lot of that in both Atlanta and Houston. We see real crossover in North America where our clubs are having a who's who of their local community, whether it's celebrities or fans or consumers alike, that have this inherent love of music and culture, and there's this big crossover. In Atlanta, KDG, we see some of the who's who of the biggest names in hip hop and music coming out to your games. And this is not something that has happened just since Atlanta has started to win. This has happened from day one. We see, you know, Killer Mike from Run the Jewels, 2 Chainz, Big Boy from Outkast, amongst so many other key music influencers. How has KDG, how has, you know, your club really embodied that intersection? Because what we've seen is it's purely organic. This is not you having to entice people to give your game a try. This is true passion that we see from that community. And it has had a very big impact in the way Atlanta has taken over, not just Atlanta, you know, but the real league. I mean, you know, for those of you in the rest of the world that aren't aware of what's going on down there, they're drawing upwards of 73,000 people per game. And it is really one of the most incredible sports experiences that I've ever seen. And it's on par with what's happening with the game around the world. So starting with KDG, talk a little bit about that influential fan base and the cross-section of how you work with culture on a local level.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. So you talk about how the league is 25 years young. we're about to enter our 5th season. So we are an incredibly young club, and that presented us with a unique opportunity and challenge, which was coming into the league, coming into a city with a blank sheet of paper we knew there was a soccer fan base. We knew that there were avids who were passionate about our national team, who are passionate about clubs around the world. But we also knew we had the privilege of calling Mercedes-Benz Stadium our home. And as you referenced, Mercedes-Benz Stadium can hold an awful lot of people. And obviously our aspiration as a new club was to be able to fill that building. When we started, I would say that was a very, very bold aspiration. But to get there, we knew it was going to be important not only to be authentic to the sport of soccer and embrace those who are our passion brand advocates, but also to welcome people who perhaps are less familiar with the sport. Atlanta is not a city that historically has had a large soccer presence. And to do that, we wanted to be inclusive. We wanted to ensure that we were a unifying force for the city and that we were welcoming anyone, regardless of whether or not you knew what was happening on the pitch, or frankly, you were just there for a good time. And to do that, we wanted to ensure that we're bringing in people that didn't look like your stereotypical soccer fans. Atlanta is an incredibly diverse young city. And for us, we wanted to welcome those people in. We wanted to let them experience it firsthand. No obligation, no ask, come, experience, let us know what you think. We worked very hard to craft an in-stadium environment and actually a match day environment overall that allowed our fans to engage with our sport in an authentic way, in a way in which they had the opportunity to learn, but in a welcoming way. It wasn't exclusionary. And I think for a lot of our influencers, to your point, Atlanta has a tremendous music history and a tremendous population of both athletes and musicians across all sorts of different genres. It's interesting. Once they came into the stadium, once they felt what the experience was like, once they experienced the sport of soccer, a lot of these individuals had traveled around the world. They'd performed around the world. They're aware of the sport. Some of them had had the opportunity to see matches overseas. They just simply didn't realize that that type of experience could also exist in their hometown. So when they came, I think it was a real eye-opener, and it was something where success begets success. And it's been a lot of fun. I mean, for us at this point, it truly is about understanding who are those individuals, welcoming our fans, welcome them. And it's something where it's allowed us to create a really exciting, really diverse fan base that really reflects our city.
Tell everybody about the golden spike and some of the rituals, where you've been able to, make them even a deeper part of the rituals of your game.
Of course. Yeah. So it's an interesting opportunity when you talk about rituals for a club that's only played for 4 seasons. So really, we went into this trying to think through how could we come up with things that felt like they'd been there for 100 years, even though clearly they had not. So for anyone who's not familiar with Atlanta, Atlanta's history was as a railroad town. It was Terminus Junction. So the golden spike is something that would have been hammered into the end of a railroad line. And for us, it really was about how do we reflect our city. So the golden spike became a symbol of our club very, very early on. The way that manifested itself on match day is we wanted something that truly served as a reminder to get fans in their seats for that kickoff, but also something that provided a jolt of energy as we started our match. So we had the opportunity to create a giant golden spike, and we welcomed influencers and prominent members of our community and fans, where at the start of every single match, right before the anthem, you have someone coming on and hitting the golden spike. And that is what signifies the start of our match. And it's something where it's an incredible rush. We have it situated on a capo stand in front of our supporter section with about 8,000 screaming, crazy fans. The optics from a television standpoint for folks who can't be in our stadium are incredible. And just the environment for that influencer, that individual who's hitting the golden spike, it really is a crazy, crazy rush. And so it's been something where, again, for us, just creating behavioral patterns, creating those rituals where fans know there's a surprise factor. You never know who that individual is going to be. And for that individual, it's something where it's incredible. You end up having expanding our reach significantly through alternate platforms, because all of these folks are putting it out on their own social channels, because it's really pretty cool. And so that, again, helps welcome other people in who perhaps hadn't necessarily thought of themselves as soccer fans and perhaps candidly don't even know what's going on, but they come, they learn, and then they come back. So it's been something where creating those rituals and being very, very consistent and making sure that it is something that feels organic, it's not pay for play, was something that was critical for us and something that we've carried forward the entire season, inclusive of last year, even when we weren't able to welcome fans into our stadium.
Great, nice job. And Catie, yes, in Houston, you have a similar community that's rallied around your club. Bun B is one name that comes to mind, who was a huge NBA fan, and I'll never forget talking to him after he experienced his first Dynamo game, and his mind was blown. And you've you've not only taken entertainment in Houston, but you've connected the club to the culture of the city. You've also come up with your own unique rituals. I'd love you to tell us more about how you connect the club to culture in the town, and tell us more about the bandana initiative that you launched this year. In speaking of rituals, I mean, you guys have really done a great job of really reactivating that brand on a local level.
Yeah, we just, as you mentioned, we just went through a rebrand, and we launched our new crest and marks and whatnot in November. But really, it was more than just colors and a logo. We really redefined who we are as a club, and we want to be Houston's club. We really want to not be just a team that plays soccer in the fourth largest city in America, the most international city in America. A lot of people don't know that. Houston's pretty much internationally known as the energy capital of the world. It's a very robust oil and gas industry. But truly, for those that live here, it is so much more. We have an extremely strong, rich culture, very diverse, international base, food, art, fashion. So really, through our rebrand, we decided that we were going to really embrace all of these aspects of what Houston is, because we want to be Houston's team. So as you mentioned, Bun B and Trey the Truth and Paul Wall and quite a few from the hip hop community, but really Houston is so much more. We have a very obviously large, robust Latin community. We've partnered with Latin musicians, pop, country music, everything that makes Texas and Houston great. The gastronomy in Houston, we love our food, really partnering and creating some unique offerings at our stadium, BBVA Stadium. And then, as well as the art scene, we have an amazing street art scene. We've really incorporated that into everything we're doing, and partnering with these communities and these folks that are coming out. And the fashion community, we have world-renowned fashion designers located here in Houston as well. And it was partly the fashion community, but it was also partly what Houston is we introduced the bandanas that just towards the end of the year, last year. And we're really excited about really leveraging those in the 2021 season. But really where it came from is, I know this might be horrible for the international community to hear, but scarves, while traditional to soccer, they really don't fit Houston's climate. I mean, we're very hot, very humid. It makes sense in New York. It makes sense in London because, it's cold, the spirit wrap up in the scarf. But in Houston, people use bandanas in all kinds of walks of life. Sometimes they have it to wipe sweat off their brow. Sometimes they use it as in their hair as an accessory. And really, these folks have embraced this fashion piece, but it's also this pride piece. So, we are announcing bandanas. We will not, of course, get rid of scarves because it is soccer, but the bandanas are an interactive piece of our game. And we're really excited about just seeing all the different designs and really leveraging those in a way with the fashion designers that we're partnering with as well to create some really unique pieces as well.
Right. David, and from a league perspective, I mean, we've worked really closely and made music a real inherent part of the way we've built out our soccer platform. Just talk for a few minutes about, who we've worked with. We've had, 2 Chainz in our spots. We've had Miguel, and music, not just from a advertising communication standpoint, but music's been an inherent part of All-Star and the cup and everything we do. So talk from a league perspective, the importance of marrying and leveraging other forms of culture to really promote and market the league.
Yeah, we, as you said, John, music is not just a lick of paint that you add to the end and you drop into a nice piece of communication or piece of advertising. Music is just at the heart of who we are. When you think about the role of music within the sport of soccer, it's everywhere. Part of what I want everyone to take away today is, I think, how, and I think both Catie's mentioned it on the last question, is how we obsess over the fan, how we obsess over the consumer, and how we understand what is unique about them, and we serve them things that is going to hook them, is going to bring them in, is going to hopefully lead for that individual to become a fan of a particular club. And music is one of those assets that we have to play with. As John said, it's square at the heart of who we are. So you hear the music on the terrace, you hear the music in the stands, you hear the music in the stadiums. You know, our fans are singing songs, and it's part of the experience of going to a game. And that's, you know, no different than anywhere else in the world. But I think what's different about that over here is we're starting to lean into some of the musical cues and the musical culture that might exist in a particular city, and we convert them into soccer chants. So if you go to Atlanta, and Catie talked about this earlier, but they're leaning into the hip hop community a lot because it is the heartbeat. It's arguably the capital of hip hop music, and they're taking hip hop songs and they're singing them as soccer chants. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. That goes back to my earlier point about creating our version of the global game. Music is in the dressing room. Music is the life beat of a player. They're motivating themselves. They're getting into the zone. They're getting themselves focused on what's about to unfold over the next 90 minutes. So for us, it just felt very natural to think about music and to work with music in a different way. And our fans are a younger fan than most of the other North American sports. They move between musical genres quite a lot, but what they do want to identify with are some of these musicians who are able to move seamlessly between genres or between languages. And they want to connect themselves with musicians whose values kind of align with their values. And I think that's an important thing to think about as well, because we want to make that match. So when we think about an asset like the world of music, and we think about all our cities, every city has a different style of music. America and Canada is just so vast. You've got kind of multiple countries within two countries. You go to different markets, the style of music in Houston is very different than Atlanta, is very different than Nashville, is very different than Seattle. And we embrace that as well, because that gives us the flavor. And that's what this is all about. It's creating our flavor and our version of soccer that exists here. And music is a key lever for us to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, something else that's so uniquely inherent to MLS versus any other sport in the world, not just in the soccer world, is that we continue to find ourselves with this growing base of celebrity ownership. And if you think about it, you know, a lot of our influence comes from those celebrities and those people that we like and we follow. And we have been so fortunate to be attracting some of the most eclectic but incredible names that not only transcend in their own fields, but they do a lot of great for their community. Whether it's David Beckham becoming an owner, Matthew McConaughey now an owner in Austin FC, Ciara and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a football player here in North America. Kevin Durant and James Harden, two of the biggest basketball players in the world, on pieces of teams. Mia Hamm, Will Ferrell. You know, the amazing part is these are celebrities that are choosing MLS to invest big money in, and it's because they believe in the league, they believe in the future of it, and they also love the experience. And I think it represents such an amazing marketing opportunity. It gives us this built-in ambassadorship to talk about the game. So Jennifer, from an Adidas standpoint, you looking at this broadly, you know, you work, Harden is an Adidas athlete, Beckham is, you know, historic relationship with Adidas. How does that crossover of the celebrity ownership provide an opportunity for Adidas and for MLS to embrace in terms of what you're doing with some of these clubs and these owners in terms of the Adidas partnership?
Yes, well, we absolutely welcome this trend. In partnership with MLS, we are deeply invested from an Adidas perspective in growing the sport of soccer in North America. So we certainly welcome the trend of celebrities investing in the sport and believing in the sport. James Harden is a great example. You know, Catie S. mentioned earlier in the Houston Dynamo rebrand, what a great role that James played in that. He's been the face of Adidas basketball, and taking a moment to connect all of the dots, you know, thinking of a James Harden, Adidas, Houston Dynamo branded tee, for example. It's the first time we brought that type of merchandise to market. Additionally, transcending sport yet again and investing in the first ever soccer program at Yates High School, where we partnered with Houston Dynamo and local charities to give back and really, again, transcend just what's happening on the field of play and giving back to the local community.
Right.
And then you mentioned Beckham. I mean, oh my goodness, how much he's given to the sport and is a great ambassador for the brand, not only when he played in the league in LA Galaxy, but also now as an owner. And we always love to incorporate him within our product launches, especially the latest Predator boot that we launched just 2 weeks ago.
Great. Yeah, he's an amazing addition. Catie, as we talked about, there's Harden, but there's also Oscar De La Hoya, the boxing legend. And, you know, I have to imagine these are great tools for you from a marketing perspective, and they seem very engaged. Talk how you partnered with them and you've been able to leverage, you know, that ownership group.
Well, you know, you're absolutely right. We are really fortunate because we have two celebrity owners in James Harden and Oscar De La Hoya, international boxing champion. And the one thing to be cognizant of, though, when you have a celebrity owner, is that to really understand their intentions. You have some celebrity owners like Will Ferrell in Los Angeles or Beckham in Miami who are willing and able to be the face of the club, or as it were. In our situation, our two celebrity owners have very busy full-time jobs during the day. So while they are always available to us and they love to participate and they're willing and able, you know, but they aren't day-to-day, you know, involved at either. So it's kind of an interesting balance because, you know, you have different opportunities. But James has been obviously very instrumental in our rebrand because this was a big deal. You know, you really only get kind of one shot at this. And so we really worked with James hand in glove to really leverage his global, not just local, when he was with the Houston Rockets, one of our fellow teams here in town, but now he's over at Brooklyn. But, you know, really to leverage not just the local community, but James, you know, brings a global aspect as well as his ambassadorship with Adidas. So it was like a perfect marriage and opportunity. And he was, you know, he was like willing and able to bounce ideas off of, you know, so we could leverage both the fashion and lifestyle crossover appeal that he brings to the table. So it was really a really great opportunity to work with him on that. And we just really enjoy the partnership with Adidas with James as well, because it's just a perfect synergy.
Great. So final topic before we, you know, get to questions, and this is one that's open to all of you guys. It's no secret that this has been an unbelievable 12 months that we've all experienced globally. And, you know, MLS and all of you individually with your clubs have had to navigate some unbelievable times. Let's talk about the importance of social justice, community support, and how the sports brand is going to become modernized in the new world. You know, from a pandemic perspective and a community perspective, our communities have gone through really tough times. From a social justice standpoint, you know, what really strikes me as unbelievable about MLS is MLS has always been fearless and not afraid to lend its voice to support those in need. You know, when we came back to play, we were the first sports league in North America to return to play. And we saw the Black Players for Change Coalition form and really make a beautiful statement in terms of, you know, where the Black Lives Matter movement was here in the US and North America. And we've seen the league really step out and our clubs to really support their communities where needed, whether it's through charitable efforts, whether it's through our MLS Works or MLS Unites platform league-wide, you know, whether it's Adidas partnering with Atlanta United to make a great piece of content around Mo Adams telling his story about what he's experienced, you know, as a player here in Atlanta. So starting with Catie G, you know, tell us about the importance and the view of what your club plays in terms of social justice, in terms of supporting the community.
Of course. I mean, for us, it's literally in our DNA. If you look at Atlanta, it's the home of the civil rights movement. As I mentioned earlier, it's an incredibly diverse city. I mean, this was a moral imperative for us club and for us as a club, and we're very fortunate to have an owner in Arthur Blank who was fully supportive of us. So for really, as we looked at the opportunity over the summer, it was something where we viewed our role as a club as truly getting engaged with our city, listening to our fans, listening to our players, and really being there to provide support and provide an outlet and provide an opportunity to have a voice, or as the late Congressman John Lewis said, make some good trouble. So for us, it really was something where we did view ourselves as playing a material role in this. We did view ourselves as having an opportunity and an obligation to really stand up for our values, stand up for what's right, and help fight for that equality that we insist on as a club, both inside the stadium and hopefully would like to have penetrate the rest of our city.
Great. And David, from a league perspective, talk about, what's important to MLS. Where are you going as a league, and where do you stand in terms of, social justice and community?
Yeah, so as a marketeer and as a brand builder, I think many will attest to what a challenging 12 months it's been. I don't think anyone could have predicted what the last 12 months looked like. I don't think any of us had a playbook ready for all of the different challenges and societal issues that kind of came at us over the last 12 months. I think from our point of view, we see MLS as a very modern and a very progressive sports league. So we want to be on the front foot and on the cutting edge of all of these different issues and challenges that we see in society. I don't think it's enough just to be a sports league and put on a sports product, because our fans care about so much more. So they expect brands to act a certain way. You can't be passive on these types of issues. You have to take a stance. You have to have a point of view. You have to lead. And you have to show the areas that you're supportive of. And I think the Black Lives Matter movement and social justice and everything that happened in the States, I think we were very quick to show our point of view in that space. I think we were very quick to work with our players and enable our players. And they very quickly formed a group called Black Players for Change. And they spoke very openly about some of the issues, and we came together with our players group, and we set ourselves on a path forward in order to ensure that the issue of social justice doesn't go away until we see some real and fundamental change. So a lot of our behavior was guided by the type of brand that we are, a progressive brand. A lot of that behavior was guided by what young people and young consumers, and our fans really want to see, and that's brands having a point of view. And I think we also live in a world where athletes are these just incredible platforms. Previously, I think consumers and fans would really rally behind corporations or brands and try and get their cues and their understanding on certain issues from them. But more so, the power of the individual, I think, is playing a very prominent role in our society. And there's a ton of examples from all around the world of sports of these individual athletes who are really, really driving change. And ultimately, that's a very, very positive thing.
Great. Catie, yes, I know the Dynamo have really done a lot in the charitable space. I see the Kids Meals in Schools initiative and what you've done with girls and boys clubs. Talk about the importance of community and where you guys stand as a club with some of these issues.
Yeah, obviously, this has always been a priority for the organization. But, in the last year, between the pandemic and everything and the social injustices, there's been so many opportunities to really lead. And as part of our mission and goal to be Houston's club, we really wanted to align and be there for our community. Our brand promise is hold it down. And people that aren't from Houston don't really know what that means. And what it means is you hold it down for your neighbor. You're there for them when they need you. You're willing to chip in and help out. And the Houston community is amazing with that through our hurricanes that unfortunately we experience on a very regular basis, as well as, every other either catastrophe or injustice. And so, sports has a unique opportunity in the fact that we're part of the community, and the community looks to us to see where we stand. And so we take this opportunity to really live by our values and brand pillars that we have. And we support the causes that align with those. Additionally, our players are tremendous. We are fortunate in the sense that we have both the men's Major League Soccer team, but we also have the women's NWSL team. And so our players, we support their right to have a voice and speak their opinions. And we really try to amplify their message if we can. But conversely, we also try to educate them, because not everybody is going to see eye to eye on every issue. And so, that's part of our support to them as our players. And in the community, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, we have a lot of underserved communities, and we try to take this as an opportunity to take that cross section of our music and our community. And, we partnered with Adidas and Trey the Truth, very prominent member of the hip hop community, and aligned ourselves with an area high school that had not had a soccer team in its history. And so it's something that they wanted to offer, and they were losing students to other schools. So with Adidas's support, we were able to donate them equipment, and we were able to get our grounds crew out there and paint the lines on the pitch for them. And so, it's really about being there for your neighbor, and we hold it down for each other here in Houston and support each other's needs.
Great. And JV, I mentioned the Mo Adams piece. I mean, the Ready for Change initiative that everyone should go and watch was really well done. Talk about, from the Adidas perspective, where you stand on some of these issues.
Yes, well, like everyone's mentioned, the past 12 months, we've all come to the realization that being silent isn't the answer, and consumers expect brands to take a stand. And, it's not just about launching products, it's about standing for something. And at Adidas, we believe that through sport, we have the power to change lives, and community has definitely been integral to that strategy and that belief. And yes, we had a campaign last year called Ready for Change, and that was meant to highlight how we're ready for change in the area of social justice. And we partnered with a couple of MLS players to really tell their unique stories, including Mark Anthony Kaye and Mo Adams, really shining a light on their experiences and their hopes for the future. Additionally, we committed to uniting against racism, and we've transparently shared our commitments on our website to include an over $120 million investment in the Black community over the next 5 years. So our commitment is very real. We know we can do better. We know we want to be better. And really, our core belief lives true today as it did almost 70 years ago when Adidas first was founded.
Yeah, great job by all. Unfortunately, we're in our last 4 minutes, so I want to use the remaining time we have to answer a few quick questions. There's some really good questions, so thank you all for listening and participating. Starting with Diogo, hope I said your name right. Diogo wants to know, how are you embracing esports into your commercial strategies? What are the benefits and the challenges? David Bruce, why don't you talk a little bit about how MLS has really been very active in the esports world, and answer Diogo's question about the crossover of esports?
Yeah, well, listen, this whole panel is about culture, crossover, and it's all about, what is our fan looking to do, and what are some of the experiences our fans are looking to have. And clearly gaming is a big part of the soccer ecosystem. You think about the power of EA Sports and the FIFA video game. So for us, again, listening to our fans, understanding our fans, it's very, very clear to us that there's a huge role for the FIFA video game. It's a conduit to fan development. It's also a pathway into our world. So for us, setting up an EMLS league was a very natural next step. It enables us to have a different type of story. It enables us to talk to a different type of consumer. It allows us to add, when we think about a commercial point of view and a calendar point of view, it allows us to add certain events into that overall mix of events that we've got going on in MLS. And it allows us to tap into these influencers who are also gamers. So each of our clubs have signed up a gamer, and that gamer is obviously incredible at playing the EA Sports FIFA video game, but that gamer is also an influencer in their own right. They're talking to an audience in an authentic way through the lens and the voice of the club that they're representing. So for us, adding an EMLS layer just became a very natural move, knowing the type of fan that we have and the type of fan that we want to attract to the league.
Right. Jennifer, Benedict has a great question for you. He wants to know, when designing new kits and the brand, how important is it to ensure the design is marketable to new fans, but also the existing fan base? So striking more out there, kits may attract the outside, but maybe not the existing fans. So how do you toe that line and juggle between the two?
I think that's a perfect one for JV, right?
Yeah, JV, that's who I was asking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
David, Bruce, you want to start creating some jerseys with me?
Yeah, why not?
We do. Great question, Benedict. I think this is just a testament to our MLS partnership in that every single kit we create, we partner with the club, taking insights around the local community fan base, what the community stands for, not just through the lens of soccer, but much broader than that. So you're right. It is a delicate balance between adhering to the hardcore, proud super fan, and then a loyalist to the city, and bringing those loyalists into the game of soccer. So it's a balance of both, but we partner with each and every MLS club to find those insights and ensure that we're tapping in to the community at large.
Great, we appreciate it. Well, we're in our last minute. I just want to say, thank you to SoccerX for hosting all of us. I want to say thank you to the amazing panel. Hope everybody got a lot out of this and learned. I encourage you to go look at some of the content we spoke about. You can find it with a simple Google search. There's a lot out there. Congrats to what Catie is doing down in Houston. Very commendable with what you're doing with the community and the brand that you've built. Catie G, you have created a monster in Atlanta, and keep doing what you're doing down there. It's always fun to experience the game. I encourage everyone globally that when you do make it, we can all travel again, you come and experience a game down in Atlanta and see what's going on. And JV, congrats on the partnership that you continue to evolve and build, and it feels fresh. And David Bruce, it's always a pleasure to work with you, and we're excited to launch everything that's coming from MLS. So thank you all for listening, and we look forward to seeing everybody in person next time. Back to the studio.